Football Manager being cancelled last year ended up costing me about £40,000, and there is still a pretty much £40,000 size hole in our finances as a result, and we are really starting to feel it. This is the full story of that. So first, I think we need to explain how my income has traditionally worked. For those of you who don't know, for the last 10 years, I've been making Football Manager content on YouTube. And for the last 8 years now, I've been doing that pretty much as my full-time job. There's been little bits of other income here and there from things like this channel and Twitch streaming, but even that is Football Manager. So realistically, yeah, Football Manager has been the vast majority of my income for 8 years. And because of the type of Football Manager content that I make, which is very much based on Let's Plays, playthroughs of the game, my income has always been very cyclical. I always earn a massive pile of cash during the launch period for the new game. Excitement is high. Everyone's searching for the new game. Everybody wants to consume every piece of content they can find. And for someone like me who makes daily content all year round and during the launch period can do 2 or 3 videos a day plus daily streams, I really pile the content on and people just gobble it up during that launch period, which also coincides with ad revenue on YouTube being the highest point it is all year as well, sort of October, November, early part of December, that lead up to Christmas. Ad revenues are much higher on YouTube, and we get that perfect storm of getting like 1.5, 2 million views a month on the Football Manager channel, while ad revenue is at its absolute highest. We've got loads of people really excited and interested in the Twitch stuff. The sponsors all pile on because they see all the views piling on. I have my affiliate code every year, which, I mean, there's been a couple of times over the last 5 years or so where we've done 5 figures of revenue just off the back of the affiliate code. And all of that combined means during that launch window of the game, I make somewhere in the region of like 70 to 80% of my annual income is made over the course of a 3 or 4 month period from the beta first dropping to realistically the end of non-league to legend, which is usually around sort of January, February time. But because I'm familiar with that shape, I'm familiar with that cyclical pattern, even from before I was doing it full time, right from the beginning, we've always very carefully spread that over the course of the year. We don't spend like maniacs when the money is good and then run up credit card debts when we've got no money in the summer. We smooth it out over the course of the year. It goes into our business bank account and we pay ourselves monthly salaries. We get the same amount of money each month, and over the course of the year it smooths out very nicely. So we're never absolutely loaded, we're never absolutely skint. The money in the business bank account might have tens of thousands of pounds in it for a part of the year where we're bringing in loads of cash, which also conveniently coincides with tax season. So we can usually pay our tax bill out of that as well, which is very handy. We've never really had to put money aside for tax because, again, it comes out of that big ballooning payment that we get towards the end of the year. And it's always worked really nicely. We get the big chunk of cash, we spread it out over the course of the year, and it allows me a little bit of freedom over the summer to still make the videos, but I can obviously experiment a little bit. The income coming in each month is usually less than our expenses over the summer, but it doesn't matter because it's smoothed out by the money that we'd made earlier in the year. It's been a perfect system that has always worked perfectly and couldn't ever go wrong until last year. And if you don't follow Football Manager and you're not familiar with what's happened, I'll give you the core details of it. Basically, the game was due to come out in October. It got to kind of September time. They announced pre-orders were open. They announced the release date of the game. And then a couple of weeks later, they announced the game was going to be delayed. It delayed from an early November release, which would have had us playing the game in October time because you always get some early access to Football Manager. But it went from being an early November to release to a late November release. And then shortly after, they postponed it again, and it went from being a late November release to a March release. And we'll tell you a specific date in March in January. So we had a little bit of a panic then. But we were like, okay, we've just got to get through 6 months. That'll be fine. We'll just spread what we've got left a little bit thinner. We had some money saved up. It wasn't going to be a disaster to get through to March. And then January came and went, and there was still no announcement. And early February, we got the news that I was fearing, and that was that the game was actually going to be completely cancelled this year. There was going to be no release in March. And the next game would be in the next game cycle. And hopefully, I mean, we still don't know for sure, hopefully we'll be out October, November time this year. So what that means sitting here in mid-May going into June is that obviously the money that we earned back in October, November, December of 2023 is long gone. We spread it all out to last summer the way we normally would. When it became clear there were going to be some issues around release dates, potential delays, we started to spread it even thinner. We started to pull into our savings. We've kind of got to the point now where the money is gone. And as usual at this time of year, the income that I'm bringing in each month from the Football Manager channel is well below our expenses. It's not just got to cover our bills. We also have an editor. We have a thumbnail designer over on that channel as well. There are expenses involved in running the channel, and we're bringing in less money than we're paying out every month. To really add on to that as well, there's a couple of extra things that have kind of gone wrong over the last 12 months. We got notice last summer that we had to move out of our house, the house that we were living at, well below market rate. The landlord decided they were going to sell, so we had to move. We have moved. We're in a slightly smaller house than we were in before, but it did come with a nice 50% increase in what we were paying in rent every month. We went from spending about £800 a month on rent to about £1,200 a month in rent. We also restructured our business back in 2023, went from being a sole trader to a limited company. It's been very beneficial when it comes to tax. That's been great. But what it did mean is when it came for renewal of my car lease last summer, we didn't really have a way to prove our income. So we ended up having to go to a specialist lease company to get our car. And we need a car. And we didn't have money to buy a car because we'd spent it the way we mentioned before. So we had to lease again. And it meant, because we had to go for a specialist company, our car lease went up from like £300 a month to about £500 a month. Obviously, we've had the same general cost of living increases as everybody else as well. And then you pile on to that the fact that as a content creator, the vast majority of my income is paid in dollars, and the dollar is down compared to where it was this time last year as well. So even earning the same amount of dollars as last year, I'd be bringing less pounds in. And also with views being down, I ended up losing my Twitch sponsor as well, which was a 5-figure sponsorship deal, which we ended up losing because interest in Football Manager was down, views were down. So they also pulled out. All of which adds up to a drop in income over the course of the year, like I say, of about £40,000. That's in lost sponsorships, lost ad revenue, lost affiliate income from pre-orders of the game. So we're about £40,000 down on income to where we would have been if the game had released as normal, all at a time when our expenses have gone up considerably as well, which means, without wanting to get too scientific and complicated with fancy words, we're in the poop just a little bit. Add on top of all of that, I did have the bright idea about 18 months ago to start a new YouTube channel because, ironically, I was afraid of having all my eggs in one basket. I didn't want to be susceptible to a situation where if Football Manager ever went away, my content would go away. So we'd been looking to branch out into different things for years. Obviously, we did this channel for a bit. We tried travel content. We tried the Pokemon card stuff. And we decided to start a Lego channel. The Lego channel has been really, really successful, to the point where ad revenue wise, it probably brings in about the same as the Football Manager channel at the moment. But it is much more expensive to run because in order to run a Lego channel, you obviously have to have Lego and constantly have that supply of Lego coming in. So it's another expense that we've added on. Yes, it's increased that side of the income, but it's also increased the expenses as well. So although Block Party is quite profitable, and without Block Party, we'd have been in the poop months earlier than we actually are, it's not solving the problem the way it would do if we were able to run the channel for free and still get the amount of ad revenue that we get off the back of it. So although it's a channel that's growing all the time, and I think a year or two down the line will probably be a hugely important part of the business as a whole, at the moment, it doesn't really touch the sides when it comes to bridging the gap that having Football Manager cancelled created. But I do get that there'll be people saying, Kev, you're talking about having no money and we still see how much you spend on Lego. So I did want to include that in here just to be like, yeah. And the reason for that is we use it to make content. Every penny we spend on Lego, we bring in 2 or 3 pennies in ad revenue and sponsorships and like income from Block Party. So the money spent on Lego, ridiculously, isn't a problem because it actually makes us more money. And if anything, if let's double down and spend twice as much on Lego and bring in twice as much money. It doesn't quite work that way, but I think we've hit a nice little sweet spot at the moment where the channel is producing a nice little profit every month, but unfortunately doesn't bridge the gap that the loss that we're making on the Football Manager channel is creating at the moment. So all of that means we're kind of in survival mode now. This isn't a cap in hand video asking you for help. More a discussion of the, I guess, one of the downsides of content creation and putting your income at the will of another company. I mean, I guess if you're employed or in the same situation at any point, you could be made redundant. I was kind of pitched my flag to Football Manager and was reliant on them producing a game every year so I could make content on that game every year. And the moment they stopped, it caused a problem. And I get there are still people thriving making Football Manager content, but they make a very different kind of content to me. And I don't want to switch too far towards doing other kinds of content because A, I don't think I'm as good at it as those other people are. B, I don't think I'm as good at it as I am at the content that I do. And C, there is a new game on the horizon. And when that new game comes, I'll do things the way I normally do things because people really like that. And those people who will be in at the start of the game will all come flooding back and we'll be fine. So it's really a more a case of accepting that we're quite cyclical in the income and quite reliant on Football Manager releasing new games. And that's fine because there will be a new game coming and there is light at the end of the tunnel. Come October, November time this year, all should be fine again. But it does mean we're going to be skint for a few months. So it means a few things. Firstly, no big fancy holidays this year. We've had a few trips that we've done for content for this channel, but similar to buying the Lego for the Lego channel, they've been trips that we've very much done the cut price way, and we've made more money on them than we've spent doing them. We got a really, really cheap cruise earlier in the year. We did a Disneyland trip as a super duper budget trip. Both of those trips comfortably paid for themselves with the content that came off the back of them. Similar to with the Lego, if we could go on a cheap February cruise every month, we'd be laughing. But unfortunately, at this time of year, when the weather is nice, the cruises are more expensive and all holidays are more expensive. So there's going to be no big fancy holiday, no dancing off to Barcelona for a couple of days to make videos and various other shenanigans that we've got to over the last couple of years. But also, we're cutting back massively on our expenses. I made a TikTok about this yesterday. And we are learning to budget again. We are cutting back on all sorts of things that had kind of like lifestyle creep, I think they call it. Just as our income has gone up, our living costs have gone up. Things like, I don't know, subscriptions. I mean, subscriptions are a nightmare, aren't they? You kind of just accumulate them and forget they're there, and then you realize how many you've got and you go through and cancel them, and wow, that makes quite the difference. But I'm also in a ridiculous situation where I currently have 2 storage units. I've got one where the Lego City is and one that's full of all of the stuff I've accumulated over my life as a man-child. So my goal now, and I guess the real purpose of the video, is to alert you to the fact that I have an eBay. And I'm going to be filling it up. I'll link to it down below. I'm going to be posting stuff on eBay quite regularly over the next few months. And we're going to be selling off a lot of stuff with 2 goals in mind. Goal number 1, to raise enough money to bridge the gap to get us to FM26, which, like I say, will hopefully be out October, November time. But also, I want to get to the point where we can get rid of one of the storage units. Things like our Christmas decorations, that's fine. We can put them under our Lego City. But I don't need all the Funko Pops and comic books and wrestling figures and whatever else, board games, and I don't even know. We've got a storage unit full of stuff. I would like to sell all of that so that A, I get the money and we can use that to pay our bills, but B, I can cancel that smaller storage unit of the 2, and that in itself saves us the £150 a month that we're spending on that. So that's the plan. We are going to just drag ourselves kicking and screaming to October, November. And if they don't release Football Manager this year, it honestly doesn't even bear thinking about. Someone said on the TikTok, would you not just get a job? Yeah, I could. But even now, like, I was a teacher before, and even the Football Manager channel on its own in isolation has more revenue coming in every month than I was earning as a teacher. It's not necessarily a case of go back to where we were before, get a job, and that solves the problem, because it doesn't really, because of the increasing cost of things. Like, we have a house now that costs twice what the house was when I was a teacher. We've got an expensive car that, yeah, we could cancel the lease, but we still need to have a car. We still need to get around, so we'd have to buy a car. We've obviously, as mentioned before, got other people relying on us for income as well, who we'd either have to, we'd just have to stop paying them. We'd have to stop running that side of things. But there's also like other bills and stuff that accumulate off the back of just running a business. Like, we have the storage unit for the Lego City. What would we do with that? Would we stop, if I had to get a job, would we stop Block Party completely? What would we do with the Lego? What would we do with the Lego? It's not as simple as just being like, right, well, I guess we stop and we go back, because our lives are very different now, and we've grown accustomed to the lifestyle to which we are. But in all seriousness, Anna is chronically in pain. She is disabled. She's not able to go out and get a full-time job. And I don't think me going back into teaching now would be able to earn enough money for us to be able to stay in this house. And I wouldn't want to abandon everything I've worked on over the last 10 years and built up, when there's two potential routes out, one being Football Manager coming out and everything going back to normal, or the other being Block Party growing to the point where that takes over as main channel as far as money is concerned. And again, we're fine there. We're right on the cusp of that getting there. I guess I would say another 6 months of growth on that channel, the way it's been growing, and we'd be fine even if Football Manager didn't come out. So although I say Football Manager 26 being cancelled as well would be a disaster, it probably wouldn't be. Not as much of a disaster as 25 was, because we've got that other project that is growing fast all the time. So yeah, I guess what I want to say is, as the roundup for it, I don't how has this video come across? It's not meant to be me doing like a woe is me and whinging and whining, because I realise in pure income terms we're still probably top however many percent in the UK as far as income concerned. We'll still have 6-figure revenue this year. It's not a woe is me situation. There's not panic, more trying to maintain rather than hugely cut back, because hugely cutting back will then make it harder to push on and rebuild. Like, I'm talking to you through a £2,000 camera and a £1,000 audio setup on a £3,000 PC. I could sell some of this stuff, but then I'm selling my means to recover and to make money. And that applies to lots of things. Like, I've got a laptop in addition to a PC. I've got cameras that I can use on the road in addition to cameras that I can use at home. I could get rid of the travel stuff, but then that means we can't easily bring travel back without having to buy the stuff again. So yeah, it's just trying to maintain where we are and just sit it out a little bit longer, and fingers crossed, hope that it'll be fine. And I think just wanted to get the message across that being a content creator isn't always sunshine and roses all the time. There are a lot of costs and expenses involved in doing this job, to the point where when you then take a hit to your income, you notice, like, I have to pay money to my accountant, I have to pay money to my management, I have to pay money to my editor, to my thumbnail guy, to various other subscription services to do with the business, like Adobe Creative Cloud, like Microsoft Office, like I mean, I don't even know. I can't even name them all off the top of my head. There's various like video creation tools, vidIQ. We have a thing that uses AI to polish up my face for thumbnails, which costs like £20 a month. There's so many expenses. It's silly. I don't get into content creation thinking it's going to be all positive all the time, because it's not. It's very much a roller coaster. There have been times when it has been much worse than this, don't get me wrong. When I first went full time back in 2017, I remember making a video from the doctor's car park where we used to live, basically in a full-blown panic because we didn't know how we were going to pay the bills, and I was basically asking how you'd apply for housing benefit, I think. because I couldn't work as a teacher anymore because of all the circumstances. All the details of that are on the channel. But yeah, it was, there have been times when it's been worse. It's been a long time since it's been this weird though. So fingers crossed, we have now kind of bottomed out. We have, I think, a solution that gets us through the next few months, and hopefully we get a new game announced, because if we don't, that's when the really difficult decisions begin, I think. So I guess bottom line, if you've ever been in the same boat, unpredictable income, rising expenses, and I know a lot of us are at the moment, I get it. Drop a comment, share your story in the comments. And if you're still watching me ramble on at this point, thank you very much. If you have enjoyed the video and you want to see more stuff like this, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know if there's other topics you'd like to see me just do a deep dive ramble on. Subscribe to the channel for more stuff just like this, plus some stuff that's completely different too. And thank you very much for watching.